next topic, that is basically the sequence. What is sequence? So we'll try to understand what is sequence, and then we'll discuss one by one all the things. So before going to start the session, let me first share this, and then we'll start the session. So is it visible to all of you, this screen? Hello, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Thank you. So the topics for the third session is types of workflow file in Uipath. So we'll see what are the different type of workflows or files that are available in Uipath Studio. So we'll see the types of workflow file in Uipath, and then we'll discuss the sequence. So basically, sequence is one of the workflow or file that is available in Uipath. So we'll see what are the different type of files that are available in Uipath. So Uipath is basically UI in this Uipath is for user interface. So basically, what is file in Uipath? So basically, a file which is project consists of main file by default, where a workflow is designed, and that type of that main file is .xml file. Okay, and apart from that main file or .xml file, we can also create some of the file. Okay, so those files are basically are 4 different types, and those are the sequence, flowchart, state machine, and global handler. So depending upon the type of application and the type of automation which we are working, we have to choose one of the file from the Uipath Studio ribbon portion. Okay, so we'll see how we can select the file and how we can work on those different files. Okay, so each file, each workflow or file have different criteria and like different application to perform. So once the sessions will progress, we can easily understand when to select sequence, when we have to use the flowchart and state machine, and simultaneously the global enter. Okay. So today's we will already discuss the sequence file, and then we'll start the. So before going to understand what is sequence, let me first show you where this different type of files are from where we can choose the different type of file in the Uipath. So for that we have to open this Uipath. So just you can see this is the panel. So from here I will create the new project. So I'm just going to create the project with the name sequence. Okay. I will create here, and the project will be created with the name sequence. It's taking some time. Okay. So as we can see here, this is created. This project has been created here. So this is our main panel or designer panel where we have to drop the activity as per our requirement. Okay. So in the Uipath, we have actually different type of activities available in the activity panel. So you can see here, this is the activity panel. So from here we can select the activity and we can drag and drop this activity to the activity panel. So before going to start this, let me show you the type of project file, that is XML file. You can see here, this is .xml. So that what I have discussed earlier. So this is the .xml file type, which is the main file, and inside this file we can create the various different file, that is sequence, sequence file, and all other files. So let me show you from where we have to choose the files. So for that, but choosing the file, we have to go to the ribbon portion, and this upper portion is known as the ribbon portion. And from this ribbon portion, under this new tab, we have to just once we click, we can find the different type of files. So these are the files: sequence, flowchart, state machine, and global enter. Okay. So these are the types of file. So we can choose the file from here. We can also choose the file from the activity panel. So once we search here in the search activity panel, sequence. Once we search here, sequence, you can see here. So sequence file we can get under this favorite section. So we can select the sequence file either from the activity panel or once various activity is combined in a linear succession. Okay, so here you have to keep focus on this particular point, that is the linear succession. So what is sequence? So sequence is basically the combination of activity, and those activity are basically connected in a linear succession. Okay, so once again I am going to just repeat the definition. So a sequence is basically the combination of activity, and all those activity are basically happen or complete connected in a linear succession one after another. Okay, that means for once we run the any sequence file, then all those activity which are connected in the linear succession, then all those activity are going to be going to be executed one after another. And another thing is that sequences are the smallest type of projects. Okay, and they are suitable for the linear processes, as they enable us to go from one activity to another activity seamlessly, or you can say that effortlessly, and act as a single block activity. Okay, so one of the key features of sequence is that we can reuse it time and again. Suppose that if you are working on any larger project, okay, and if you are working on a flow chart and something else, then we can also create a sequence inside a flow chart, and we can use that sequence inside the flow chart and outside the flow chart as per our requirement. And we can see all those examples in the coming sessions. Okay, so again you can see here we can use this sequence as the standalone automation. Okay, if you want to create any standalone automation with the help of sequence, like in the recording and all the thing, we can also do, and we can also use the sequence in the part of state machine or the flowchart. Okay, so this is the definition of sequence. I think this is clear to all of you. Is it clear now? Is now disturbance clear? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, but there is some
disturbance. Can you?
Sir, there is a audio disturbance.
Audio disturbance. Is it breaking? Is it breaking in between?
Yes, sir.
Breaking or outside disturbance?
No,
The background disturbance.
Your audio is clear, but some additional
Background noise, sir. Background noise.
Participant audio close.
Okay. Background. I think that may be due to the other participant. All other participants, please mute your audio.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear now? Am I loud and clear to all of you?
Fan
Or is
like
it?
is coming.
I think is
Yes,
it
sir. Absolutely fine.
is it fine?
Yes, sir. It's fine, sir.
Okay, okay. So all the other please mute audio. So no problem. So I will no problem. I'm going to repeat this. I'm going to repeat the definition of sequence again. No problem. I will repeat the sequence definition again. So what I have discussed earlier before the disturbance, the definition of sequence file. So sequence is basically the smallest type of project that is available in the Uipath, and this is all. Please mute your audio. This mute your audio, sir. 914729204, and rename it as your name. Otherwise, it would be hard for us to take the attendance from the WebEx log detail.
Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, sir.
Please mute your audio. It is creating disturbance. So sequence is basically smallest type of project. I'm just going to repeat the same thing again. So and all the activity are basically connected in linear
Sir, I will
succession.
not switching off. Please.
What happened? Hello.
Sir, my video is not switching off. Please close from your side, sir. My
Okay,
video.
okay.
914729. Yes, sir. Please. 914.
No,
Please
no problem. No.
switch off my audio, sir.
Okay.
Sir, host have to do, sir.
So so now I was discussing about the sequence file. So, but due to some disturbances and all the things that could not be audible to all of you, so I'm again going to repeat the same. So, sequence is basically the smallest type of project or the file that is available in Uipath. And in the sequence, basically the activities are connected in linear succession. All those activities are basically executing one by one once we execute the sequence file. And the main advantage, or you can say the key feature of sequence, is that we can use this time and again as either as the standalone automation or as the part of some other automation in the some different file like state machine or flowchart. Okay, so this is the key feature of sequence, that we can use this as the standalone or inside some other different file like a state machine or flowchart. So once in the coming session, this topics will be discussed, then we can easily understand how this particular sequence is going to be used inside the state flow, like a state machine or the flow chart. Okay, so moving to the next slide. So why sequence is known as the single block activity in Uipath Studio, that what I have discussed in the previous slide. So since sequence is the smallest type of project and they can act as a single block activity, This is the reason why we call the sequence as a single block activity, and it does not use the connectors. Okay, so once the selectors topic will be discussed, then we can easily understand what is connectors and all the things, or during the recording sessions we can understand what is the connectors. But for the time being, we can understand why this single block activity, why the sequence is the single block activity, because it do not use connectors. Okay, so whatever activity we add inside a sequence, they are going to be executed one after other. That means due to the absence of connectors, okay, all those activity are connected in the linear succession, and all those activity are executed one after another. That's why this is known as the single block of activity. Okay, and they are suitable for sequence files are basically suitable for the linear processes, as they are enable us to go from one activity to another activity seamlessly, and they can be reused time and again. Okay, so this is the main reason, the absence of the connector, which enables all the activity to execute in the linear succession one by another. That's why the sequence is known as the single block activity for the automation. Okay, so now moving to the next slide, we'll first discuss some of the activity, then we'll start working on the sequence file. Okay, so before going to start the sequence file and working on this, we have to understand what is activity and how we can use the different kind of activity. Okay, so as the sessions will progress, we'll understand different type of activity and their uses. Okay, so the first activity which I'm going to discuss here is the assign activity. So what is assign activity? So to select any activity, what we have to do, we have to open the activity panel. So how we can open the activity panel? We have to click for that activity panel. Okay, so for better understanding, we can also do the same thing along with me. Since we have already installed the UI, I think most of you have already installed the Uipath Studio in the second session itself. So I'm going to search here. So what I will do, I will search here assign activity, ASSIGN. Okay, so once we'll search here, we'll get the assign activity. So once we'll to get any activity in the designer panel, we have different methods. Okay, so suppose that first we have to search the activity in the assign activity panel. Okay, then either once we right click the mouse, then automatically that particular activity is going to be dropped inside this designer panel, which is also known as the main panel. Okay, so for that, let me show you again. Once again, I'm just going to delete it. So here it is the assign activity. What I'm going to do, I'm simply going to just single click, not double click, and you can see this activity has been dropped inside this your designer panel. One thing you can see here, this activity, assign activity, is not going to become like a standalone. It is going to become inside a sequence file. Okay, you can see here, this is the symbol of sequence file, and this is the name sequence. Okay, we can also rename it by just left clicking the mouse. Okay, and then we will get this pop-up window, and we can use the different option for suppose that if you want to rename it, we can select this rename, and we can rename this sequence file, okay, as per our requirement. Okay, so that you can see here, the assign activity which I have selected from the activity panel is going to be dropped inside a sequence file. Okay, and here we are getting this plus sign. So we can also add activity in the linear succession inside this sequence file, what I have discussed earlier. I'm just going to connect some 2 or 3 different activities inside this sequence file, so that I can make you aware about how this activity is going to be connected in the linear succession. To just demonstrate the linear succession connection, I'm just going to connect the activity. Okay, otherwise we'll see that their practical implementation and all the things in the coming sessions with the help of different examples. Okay, for the time being, I'm just going to show you or to demonstrate you all how we can connect the different activity in the linear succession inside the sequence file. So this is our sequence file. So I'm just going to connect 2 or 3 activity. So suppose that this is the message box. Okay, what I will do, I will drag and drop here, and okay, so you can see here, this is going to be connected in the linear succession, and this is the arrow which is showing that the activity is connected in the linear succession. Okay, suppose that I'm again going to connect one more activity. So this is input dialog box. So this way we can connect the number of activity from the activity panel as per our requirement inside a sequence file, and all those activities going to be connected in the linear succession. Okay, so while explaining the concept of single block. Why we call this as the single block of activity? Just let me explain again. So what happens due to the absence of connectors? You can see here we are not getting any connectors. All those activity are contained inside itself a sequence file. So all these activities are connected in a linear succession. So once you execute this particular sequence file, so this first input dialog, because this input dialog is connected first in the all those activity, whatever activity we have connected here, this input dialog box is the first. Therefore, this input dialog activity will be executed first. Okay. So if any error will occur in this particular activity, input dialog activity, then this complete sequence file is not going to be executed. Your execution process will be going to be halted or going to be stopped at this point of time. Okay. Similarly, suppose that if input dialog box activity will be executed, then execution will be done for this message box. If this if any error will be occur here, okay, then you will not the execution will not move to the third activity, that is assign activity. Okay, so and so forth. That means once the first activity will be executed successfully, then only the execution of the second activity will be take place. Is this clear to all of you? Is it clear? So this is very important. Okay, so I think this is clear to all of you. So I was talking about the assign activity. So what is assign activity? I'm just going to discuss in very brief. So because I'm going to use this assign activity in today's and the day of like tomorrow first session. Okay. So that's why for the sake of that, I am going to explain this assign activity. Otherwise, in the control flow activity topics, this will be discussed in the very detail. But for the sake of my one of the examples that I will cover in the tomorrow session, I'm just going to explain this assign activity. So this assign activity is basically used for assign any value to a variable. Okay, so what is variable? Again, this will be discussed in the tomorrow session. Okay, so if you create any variable in the Uipath, so for that variable, if you want to assign any value, suppose that you have created any variable x, okay, that is integer type. If you want to assign any value, like suppose that 10 or some 100 or anything else, so that for that we have to create a assign activity, and then in that assign activity we have basically two fields, to field and value field. Okay, so in the to field we have to create the variable. Okay, and for that created variable that we have created in the to field, we have to assign the value in the value field. Okay, so just let me show you. Just let me show you where is the to field and where is the value field. So this is your assign activity, you can see here. So so you can see here, this is to field. Okay, for that we have to open the properties panel. So and then here value field. Okay, so suppose that if I'm going to create any variable, okay, so create any, so for that we have to give the value here. Okay, so okay, so we can assign the value to this variable. So this assign activity is basically used to assign any value to the variable. So you can see here how we can assign. So here we have to create the variable. Okay, I will explain everything for the variable creation in the coming session. That like after this session, we will have in the second day, we will have the first session for the variable creation in the argument. So there we'll see how we can create the variable. But for right now, you have to understand what is assign activity. So this is basically used for simply assigning any value to the variable. Okay, so this is very simple. And for the assign activity, we have two different fields. One is the One is the to field and second is the value field. Here you can see at the right side of my screen. So this is your property panel. So once you click here, this properties panel will open. Okay, and you can see here we are getting two different field, to field and assign value field. Okay. So this is about the assign activity, and we'll see the use and example of this assign activity in the tomorrow session. Once we'll discuss the number variable. Okay, and again we'll like discuss this so many times, so we can easily understand how we can use the assign activity. So now again, some more activity we'll discuss, like message box activity. So what is message box activity? So basically this is used to display a message box with a given text that has to be shown to the user. Okay, suppose that if you want to display something to the user, so for that we have to use the message box, and we can either display a message in the message box directly or can display that message in a message box using variable. Okay, so we have two different methods for displaying any message with the help of message box. What we can do, either we can directly write that message inside the message box and then we can execute that message box, and that message box will that message which we have entered in that message box will be pop up and that will be visible to the user. Okay, this is the first method. Second method is like we can create a variable, and with the help of that particular variable we can display whatever the information or the data is stored in that particular variable with the help of message box. So again, just let me show you how this message box looks like. So once we search here, okay, so this is your message box. We can search from the search activity panel of the activities panel. So whatever activity we have to use, we have to search that thing from activity panel. Okay, so again we have to like write here message box, and once to drop here. So to drag any activity, we have to drag any activity inside the designer panel. We have to search that particular activity inside the activity panel, and then either double click or simply drag and drop to the plus sign. Okay, inside that designer panel. Okay, so this is your message box. So what we have to do, suppose that if you want to display any message, so you have to write the message inside this message box. Okay, so to write that message, you have to write that message inside a double quote. Okay, the text must be quoted either in the double or single, that doesn't matter, but this is my habit that I mostly use the double quotes, but that is up to you. So suppose that if I want to write like hi, this is demo for message box activity. So this is the, once you execute this, you will get this message in your output. So for the execution of this particular small sequence file, so you can see here what I have done. I have simply taken one simple message box and I have written that particular message that I want to display. That means that I want that particular message to be displayed to the user. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply execute this particular file. Okay, so you can see, just wait, we'll get this particular written message as the output. So you can see here, this is the output. So we are getting hi, this is demo for message box activity. Okay, so this is the first method for getting any message displayed with the help of message box. Okay, now by using the variable, we'll see that we'll see that example also in the coming session, maybe today or the day in the tomorrow beginning session. Next activity is the write line activity. Okay, so this activity is basically used to print string or value of a string variable to the output panel. By default, this activity is also included in the favorite group. Okay, so this particular write line activity is used to print the string or the value string variable to the output panel. So just let me show you. This already have been discussed in the second session. And the second session in the where is the output panel is located, but we will see the example of this write line activity in the variable. So all those activity that I'm discussing here, like assign activity, message, write line, and input dialog, I'm going to use this activity in my sessions. That why I'm discussing here. Okay, Otherwise, you are going to get like you are going to be like use this activity for all the 5 days in all the sessions. Okay. So again, the fourth activity is the input dialog box activity. It is very important activity. And what is this? And this activity is a dialog box that appears with a message or question in response to which the user is required to put in his reply. That means, suppose that if someone is working on any automation project, okay, and in that particular, if you want to get any input from the user, okay, so for that we have to use this input dialog box activity. So it should be very clear. Input dialog box activities basically is the activity that appears with a message or question that basically that message or question is for the user, and with the help of that particular input dialog, as its name suggests, this is the in dialogue between the user and the person that wants that person who is working on that particular automation. And if you want to ask something from the user, so this input dialog is the kind of a communication channel between the person who is working on that particular automation, or in the industry which is utilizing the automation project or the automation thing. And if we want to get any inputs from the user, then we have to use this input dialog. And with the help of input dialog, once we use that particular input dialog, we'll see we have various type of options there. Okay, so we can like ask the multiple choice questions, option based questions, like we can ask direct questions. Okay, and so many other things we can see once we use the input dialog box activity. Okay, so now for the time being, the activity which I have to cover for my session, that is done. Okay, we have like left, we have so many activity left, but that will be covered in the coming session. Hello, Shyamlal Sharma sir, please mute your audio. It is creating disturbance. Thank you. Doc.
Hello, yes, some network.
Okay. So I was discussing about the input dialog box activity. So let me show you how this input dialog box activities look like. So again, we have to go for any activity. Again, I have to open this activity panel. Okay, and then what I have to do, I have to simply search this input dialog. Okay, so once we double click here, we'll get the input dialog activity inside a sequence file. So you can see here we are getting these different options like dialog title, okay, input level, okay, and then input type, and then value entered. So these are the options that we have to provide, okay, and then we have to use accordingly as per our requirement in our application or in our automation. Okay, so we'll see one simple example, okay, and then we'll proceed with the various other examples of this sequence. Till now, if you have any one of you, if you want to ask any question or any query, then you can ask. Otherwise, we are going to I'm going to start the example. So we'll see a very small example, and then accordingly we'll proceed with the. So first example that I'm going to discuss here, we will create a sequence file to greet somebody with his name. Okay. So what is that example? We have to greet somebody with the name, and for that we have to use this. For this particular example, we are going to use two different activities, and that activity will be like input dialog box to get the name from the user or the person whom we want to greet. Okay, with some message. and to greet and to provide the message, the greeting message, we have to use the message box. Okay, so I have already explained in detail what is input dialog and what is message box. Okay, so first we'll use the input dialog box and then we'll use the message box to greet that particular person with the name. So here, what we are getting here in the input dialog box. So again, let me start from the scratch or the beginning. So let me delete this. So for this particular example that we are going to perform here, the greeting somebody with the name, we have to use the input dialog activity first. So what we'll do, we'll open the activity panel and then we'll search the input dialog. You can see here, we are getting this input dialog inside this activity panel and we'll simply double click and this will get inside a sequence file. Now we'll get this 4 different option: dialog title, input label, input type, okay, and then value entered. So this dialog title means the title for the your input dialog box. So I'm just going to give this title inside a double quotes. Okay, again that double quotes, and I will write like greeting. But that is up to you. We have to assign the dialog title name, input level in such a way so that it should reflect the application that on which you are working. Okay, it should be according to your example, or what you can say, it should be in accordance with your automation project on which you are working. Okay, so in this particular example, since we are working to demonstrate how we can greet somebody with the name, that's why I'm going to give the dialog title name as the greeting name. Okay, and that is up to you. If you want to give some other name to this title, you can give, but that should be relevant so that it can be easily understood. Input label. So here, what I'm going to it will be this input label will be like this. We want to get the name from that particular user, so we'll write like, what is your name? We'll ask the question from the user, what is your name? Okay, we'll see. Once I will execute this, then I will show you all that where this dialog title that I have written here, greeting name and what is your name, is going to be appear. Okay, so since I'm asking this is as the what is your name, so input type will be like text box. Okay, I'm not going to give the choice. Okay, I'm not going to give the multiple choice. That user has to directly type the write the name. Okay, I'm not going to provide the 4 different name and that user going to select the one option out of the 4. Okay, so therefore we have to select this input type as the text box. Okay, suppose that in some of the cases where this question is be like multiple choice question. Suppose that if you am asking about the who is the president of India, okay, and in that case, if I want to provide if the person who is working on that particular project is want to provide that 4 different name, like one correct name and 3 wrong answer, and then user has to select one right answer. In that case, we have to use this input type as the multiple choice. But in this particular example, I'm just going to use this what is the name label as the text box. That's why I'm not going to create this. I'm going to select this as the text box, not as the MCQ multiple choice question. Okay. Okay. So for this particular example, I have created here variable x. That particular variable is going to store the name entered by the user. Okay. But for time being, I'm just going to explain in not very detail, because this variable topic I will cover in the coming session, in the 4th session, tomorrow beginning session. So here you can say that the name is the string type variable. Here you can see here, once you open this variable panel, that particular panel has been, I think, has already been discussed in the 2nd session. So we are getting 4 different type of fields. Okay, I will explain all these things in very detail tomorrow. So this is the variable which I have created here. Okay, and how we can create the variable I will also explain. And then this type is a string. Okay, and the scope is sequence. Okay, so rest everything will be discussed tomorrow. So now what I'm going to do, for displaying the name of that particular user, that user is going to be entered. Okay, I'm going to use this message box. Okay, so this is our message box, and now we have to greet that particular user. So suppose that if you want to greet that particular user, hello. To greet the user, we have to enter the message. So what I'm going to write, I'm just simply going to write like good afternoon all. So you all are welcome. Since I'm going to take the name from a single user, therefore I'm going to delete this off. You are welcome for 5 days online FDP program. Okay, so this is the message that I have written here. Okay, so this is the message that I have written here. So that message is good afternoon. You are welcome for 5 days online FDP program. Okay, so this is done. So once I will execute this, let me show you. So you can see here. I'm again executing this. So let me show you. So this input dialog box dialog title is appearing here. You can see here. Where is the cursor is located right now. Greeting name is appearing here as the pop-up. Once this will be executed, you can see here, this is the name of your dialog title, and this is the label that you have entered here. What is your name? So this what is your name I have entered inside this input label. That is appearing here. Okay, and here we have to provide the name. Suppose that I'm just going to write my name itself, Ritesh. Okay, Ritesh, and once I will hit this OK button, it will display the message, the good afternoon. You are welcome for 5 days online FDP program. Suppose that in this particular example, I have created this variable since I have not covered this variable portion, but that's why I have not used this variable inside this message box. But suppose that if I want to greet that particular person with the name, I want that the name should also be appear in the message box. That example I will cover in the tomorrow session. Since I have not covered variable, that's why I cannot cover this particular. But we can do that also. Okay. Suppose that if you want to display this as the suppose the user entered the name as the Ritesh, so then and I want that the message to be displayed as the Ritesh, you are welcome for the 5 days online FDP program. So in that case, okay, we have to use the variable, but I have not covered the variable, therefore I'm not going to use that particular example, or I'm not going to explain that particular example. But for right now, in this simple example, what I have used, what I have done, I have connected two different activity. One is the input dialog, second is the message box. Okay, and I have provided some dialog title name, input label, and then type as the text box, and then simply I have written that message that I want to be displayed as the display the message to the user. Okay, so once the user will enter the name, and press the OK button, this particular message is going to be appear here. I think this is clear to all of you. Is it clear? Okay, no problem. So suppose that I'm just going to use this. I have just shown you the example of this text box. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this input dialog box as the multiple choice. Okay. So in that particular case, what I'm going to write, I'm going to write as the what is. Suppose that I'm just going to ask a question as the what is um, what is name of India Prime Minister. Okay. Simply who is the Prime Minister of India. Okay. So who is the Prime Minister of India? Okay. So this is the second example in which I'm going to demonstrate the use of multiple choice here in multiple choice type. Okay. When the input will be typed, in the type of the input will be multiple choice, then how we can use that, I'm just going to explain. So here is the who is the Prime Minister of India. Accordingly, I have to also change the dialog title. So I'm going to change the title name as the question 1. Okay, like question 1. This is our question 1. Okay, and now type I'm going to change as the multiple choice. Okay. Here we have to provide the input options separated with here this semicolon. Okay. So I will write here like some other name. So I'm going to just provide the 4 different name as the option. That can be any name. So I have provided here the name with the options. Okay. So once I will execute this, you can see here. So you can see here who is the Prime Minister of India. We are getting this option as the Narendra Modi. This. Okay. So we have to select this and then okay. So simply this is the example of input dialog box activity where we have to use this as the multiple choice. Okay. So I have not used the message box where once anybody will select this Narendra Modi as the Prime Minister, then the message box will display as the correct answer. So that is the another example that we can discuss in some coming sessions. So my main motto here is to just to explain you guys how to use the
डबल कोटेशन के अंदर रहेगा ना सर स्ट्रिंग है.
So my main motto is to just explain you how we can how we can use this multiple choice question. But one thing you have to keep here is that whatever option you are going to provide, that should be in the double quotation. That is double quotes. You can see here, if I'm going to remove this double quotes, then we are going to get the error. Okay, so this is the error. Okay, so whatever error you will do, you will get the warning here. So once we'll read the warning, we can easily understand what is the error. Okay, so in case if you forget to like use the double quotes or single quote, then you are going to get the error. Okay, so that should be inside a double quotation. So you can see here, once I'm using this double quotation, the error has been removed. Okay. So this is the use of input dialog box activity for the text type, input type, and the multiple choice input type. Okay. So next topic is so this is a example of greeting someone with the name. So suppose is this clear to all of you? This particular input dialog box activity use.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So we are will like so I'm not able to like show you all the various example, because we have to use the variable. Okay, without using the variable, I cannot show you like much more examples. So however, I'm just trying to demonstrate one more example. Okay, because without variable, so since the variable will be covered in the tomorrow session, that's why I'm not able to perform some more example. So let me show you one more example. Suppose that again I'm going to use the input dialog box activity. Okay, and then this again this message box activity. Okay, and without using this variable, if I want to demonstrate some example, then how we can do that. So again, suppose in the particular previous examples I have shown you the how we can greet somebody. Okay, so in that particular example I have just created the dialog title with the greeting name, and then input label type question, and then input type as the text box, and then I have wrote the message inside the message box inside the double quotes that I want to display for that particular user. Okay, so suppose that I just want to provide some information to the user, like about like this coming FDP. So like suppose that dialog title I'm just going to create as the FDP information. FDP information. Suppose that I want to provide the enrolled user for this particular coming in its ongoing FDP or some other program, the information about that particular program that is going basically conducting or going on. So suppose that the dialog title for this particular example I have created as the FDP information, and the title as the title input level will be like What is the what is your name? Okay, so once the user will provide the name, okay, and that particular name is going to be like verified, and then this message will be displayed in the message box. Okay, so suppose that so that particular okay, that is fine. Now, so I have created one variable. Okay, so the everything again I will cover in the tomorrow session. So now what I will do here in the message box, I will simply write the message that I want to be displayed for that user. That user is basically is going to be checked from the database of the enrolled participants for the particular FDP. Okay, so I will write here FDP online FDP, and everything will be must be inside a double quote or the single quote. Online FDP will be start from 17th May 2021. Okay, so suppose that if I want to be provide the information to the user about the start date of the FDPs, and then simply what I will do, I will write the message here. Okay, or whatever information if you want to provide here, we have to write here, and that particular information is going to be displayed once this execution will be done. Okay, so you can see here we have to simply debug this. And I will write here again the name, and that name will be verified. Okay, and after verification, we will get this message. Okay, that online FDP will be start from 17th May. So this is about the sequence. Okay, so we have like so many number of examples in the sequence. Okay, but I am unable to explain all those examples because I have not covered the variable. Okay, so once I will cover the variables topic, okay, that I will cover, that is basically like scheduled for the tomorrow session. And tomorrow the very first topic will be like variable and argument. So that variable and argument will be like kind of extension to the sequence file. Okay, so once we'll understand how we can create the variable, okay, then we can easily perform some more examples. Okay, so without creation of variable, I'm unable to show you the like some more like uses of sequence file. So there we'll see how we can use one or two more variable. Okay, and then how we can going to utilize those variable to display as the message for the user. Okay, so this is all for the today's session for the sequence. Okay, so today basically I'm again going to summarize all the from the beginning. We have started the third session with the discussion of various type of file. Okay, so there we have like come to know that we have 4 different type of file, like sequence, state machine, flowchart, and the global handler. And I have also shown you all the where this different file we can choose from the ribbon portion as well as the activity panel. Okay, and then we have started the discussion of defining to the sequence file. Okay, why it is known as the single block of activity due to the absence of container. Then we have explained the various activities like assign activity, then message box, input dialog box. Okay, and then right line activity. All this activity which I have discussed today I'm going to use in the tomorrow session. Okay, and then I have also shown you the use of input dialog box and message box without using the variable. Okay, I'm not use the variable whatever I have created ever in the input dialog. So once I will explain the variable creation with the help of variable panel and all, then I will use this. Okay, so this is all about the today's session. If you have any problem, any query, then you can ask. Anybody, if you have any question or query, then you can ask. Otherwise, I'm going to end the session so that you all can attend the inauguration session of inaugural ceremony of this 15th Atal FDP that is going to be start from 3 p.m. and Honorable HRD Minister will address that particular inaugural session. So if you have any question or any doubt, then you can ask. Anyone? Any question, any query? So any query related to e-content portal. So again, let me explain all the things, how this session, how the FTP will like conduct for the 5 days. So each day we will have 3 sessions. All the sessions will be for 2 hours duration. Only today, due to this inaugural ceremony, we have not, this third session is not for the 2 hour duration. And the topics is also covered. That is also the thing. And you all have to, the attendance for your appearing in the final assessment on the basis of which the certificate will be awarded should be 80%. Okay. And once you appear in the assessment examination, once you score more than 60% mark, then only you are going to be get the certificate. Okay. And for that you have to be regular. You have to regular check the e-content portal, and the link is already provided. If you guys have any problem, then you can like raise your issues in the WhatsApp group, or you can mail also. We'll try to resolve as soon as possible. Okay. And for each session we have PPT as well as content, and for each day we have given some 5 questions as the assignment. Okay. So all those assignment you have to be like go through, so that you can be aware from all the sessions and you can revise the concept. So whatever is going to be discussed in a day, that will be provided in the e-content portal. So this will be the process how we are going to conduct this like complete FTP. So we'll also cover everything in class, as well as we will try to provide the content in the e-content portal of this 9. Is this fine? If any query is there, you can ask. Otherwise, so this about Mayank Kumar sir is asking about the X, how we can define X and how we enter variable. So everything I will just explain in the tomorrow session. Okay, once I will explain the variable creation. So since I have done here, but I have not explained because I have not covered the variable portion, and I have not explained about the variable panel creation, creation of variable with the help of variable panel. So once I will cover that particular topic in the tomorrow session, then I will explain how we can utilize this. Okay. So how we can create in and how we can assign variable. So that particular thing I have skipped knowingly, because I have not covered the variable topic. So if it is any query, then you can ask. Otherwise, I'm going to end the session, because after 10 minutes, and it is it is request to all of you to please attend the inauguration ceremony, and the link for that YouTube channel has been already provided. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Tomorrow at what time the session will be started, sir?
Session will be started 9:30 p.m. Sorry, 9:30 a.m. In the morning, 9:30.
Thank you so much, Ritesh.
Okay.
There was an announcement regarding the YouTube link of inauguration session.
And lunchtime from tomorrow onwards at 1:30 or 1:15.
No, from tomorrow onwards,
Hello,
all the session. I'm announcing just wait. From tomorrow onwards, all the session will be held as per the timetable that we have provided in the group also. Okay. So from tomorrow onwards, all the since only for 2 days, due to this inauguration ceremony, the sessions are little bit like diverted from the timetable. But from tomorrow onwards, the session will be held and covered